Welcome to Country First Action Foundation's lesson number 11, the federal budget and national debt. The federal budget and national debt aren't just concerns for Washington, they affect every American. Whether you're a student paying tuition, a retiree depending on Social Security, or a parent saving for your child's future, government decisions on spending, taxes, and borrowing shape everyday life. Each year, the federal government spends trillions of dollars, but brings in less than it spends. That yearly shortfall is the budget deficit. The sum of all those past deficits, minus occasional surpluses, is the national debt, which now tops $37 trillion. The founders gave Congress, not the president, the exclusive authority to raise revenue and allocate funds. This wasn't accidental. Having lived under British rule, where taxes were levied without representation, Americans demanded a system with built-in checks and democratic control. From the founding through the 19th century, debt rose in wartime and was paid down afterward. Alexander Hamilton, the first Treasury Secretary, believed manageable debt could help build national credit. But he also warned that unchecked debt could become a national curse. In the 1830s, President Andrew Jackson actually eliminated the national debt, the only time in U.S. history. But the Civil War quickly reversed that. Debt spiked again, then declined until World War I, surged during the war, and dropped in the 1920s. The Great Depression marked a turning point. Facing mass unemployment and collapse, FDR's New Deal launched large-scale government spending. Inspired by Keynesian economics, the government used borrowing during a downturn to stimulate demand, a revolutionary approach for peacetime. World War II pushed debt above 120% of GDP, the highest ever. But a post-war economic boom, driven by industrial growth, productivity, and returning GIs entering the workforce, helped shrink the debt's share of the economy without dramatic repayment. From the late 1940s to early 1970s, debt levels stayed stable or declined. Federal programs expanded, but a strong economy and broad tax base kept the budget under control. The 1980s brought a fundamental shift. President Ronald Reagan pushed for major tax cuts to spur growth while also increasing defense spending. However, promised domestic cuts didn't materialize. The result? Soaring deficits and a national debt that tripled by 1988, hitting over $2.6 trillion. The 1990s offered a brief reversal. Under Presidents George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, Congress passed bipartisan deficit reduction deals, modest tax hikes, spending caps, and new budget rules. A booming economy, fueled by technology and rising productivity, produced 4 years of surpluses from 1998 to 2001. Then came September 11th. The U.S. launched wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, expanded Homeland Security, enacted new tax cuts, and created Medicare Part D, all without matching revenue. The Great Recession of 2008 to 2009 led to massive stimulus packages, bailouts, and revenue collapse. The debt spiked again. Then the COVID-19 pandemic triggered the most aggressive peacetime federal response in U.S. history. Between 2020 and 2022, the government borrowed over $5 trillion for relief checks, business loans, vaccines, and unemployment aid. Today, U.S. debt exceeds the size of the entire economy, and it continues to rise. Every federal dollar falls into two main categories: mandatory and discretionary spending. Mandatory spending includes programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, federal retirement benefits, and interest payments. As the population ages and healthcare costs climb, this share of the budget keeps growing. Today, it accounts for about 2/3 of all federal outlays. Discretionary spending, by contrast, is debated each year. It covers defense, education, transportation, public safety, and federal agencies. Despite drawing the most attention in budget debates, it now represents only 1/3 of spending and shrinking. That means most political fights center on a small slice of the budget, while the real long-term pressures go largely unaddressed. Federal budgeting is full of misleading language and accounting tricks. This stems from baseline budgeting, where future increases are assumed. Lawmakers also use gimmicks to make spending look smaller, setting artificial expiration dates for tax cuts they plan to extend, shifting costs into future years, or labeling routine expenses as emergencies to bypass budget rules. These tactics don't solve anything. They just make it easier to avoid tough decisions. No politician wants to be first to propose painful reforms. Voters often reward short-term promises, not tough long-term planning. But ignoring the math won't make it go away. Small, phased-in changes, like adjusting retirement age, reforming benefit formulas, and making the tax code more efficient, could make a big impact, especially if started early. Rebuilding trust will also require honest budgeting, real debates about priorities, fewer gimmicks, and fiscal rules with real teeth. So far, the U.S. can still borrow, and checks still go out. But rising interest costs, slower growth, and declining public investment will eventually bite. This isn't a partisan failure. Both sides share responsibility. Every generation makes trade-offs. Ours is choosing, or defaulting, to hand a massive bill to the next. We don't need to panic, but pretending we can do everything, fund every program, and cut every tax without consequences is a dangerous illusion. There is still time to change course. But that window won't stay open forever. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, please reach out to the email address on the screen, and we will get back to you as soon as possible.